In section 5.1, we talked about parallel lines and a transversal. Now, parallel lines are two lines that never touch, and a transversal is a line that cuts through a pair of parallel lines. Now, what you notice here in this yellow post-it note is that when we have a case in which we have parallel lines and a transversal, that forms us 8 angles. So notice how I labeled my angles here, numbers 1 to 8. Now, the different types of angles, there are 6 of them. And the first one we want to talk about is corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are angles that are on the same side of the transversal and they're in the same position on the parallel lines. So if I look at angle 2, an angle that is on the same side of this transversal means that it's on the right side of the transversal and the same position of the parallel lines. Notice angle 2 is on the top of the parallel line. That would mean that angle 6 corresponds to angle 2, or angle 2 and 6 are corresponding angles. Now, corresponding angles come in pairs. Okay, so angle 4, an angle that is on the same side of the transversal and the same position of the parallel line, matches with angle 8. Angle 1 matches with angle 5, and angle 3 matches with angle 7. Now we could look at it backwards. Angle 7 matches with 3, however the pairings are the exact same. Now, what is special about corresponding angles is that their angles are congruent, and congruent means that their angles are the exact same measure. Okay, this is a chart that you will want to memorize so that you know the different relationships and descriptions of these angles. Okay. Alternate interior angles are angles on the inside of the parallel lines but opposite sides of the transversal. So my interior angles are going to be inside the parallel lines, but they're going to match with the number on the opposite side of the transversal. So if I just pick a number like 3, 3 is an alternate interior angle to the angles on the inside of the parallel lines on the opposite side of the transversal. So 3 matches with angle 6 because they alternated sides, and angle 5 matches with angle 4. Alternate interior angles are also congruent, which means they have the exact same measure. Alternate exterior angles are angles outside the parallel lines and opposite the transversal. So they're going to be in opposite corners, but on the outside of the parallel lines, such as interior angles were in opposite corners, but the inside. Alternate exterior angles are going to match with opposite corners on the outside of the parallel lines. So angle 2 and 7 are alternate exterior angles, and angle 1 and 8 are alternate exterior angles. Please notice that 1 and 7 are not alternate exterior angles because they are not on opposite sides. Alternate exterior angles are also congruent, which means they have the exact same measure. Consecutive interior angles are angles inside the parallel lines on the same side of the transversal. So if I'm looking inside the parallel lines, angle 3 is a consecutive angle to 5, and number 4 is a consecutive angle to 6. Okay. And consecutive angles are supplementary, which means when you add the angle of 4 and the angle of 6 together, their sum is 180. Whereas if you add angle 3 and angle 5 together, their sum is 180 as well. Vertical angles are on opposite sides of each other when two lines cross. Okay, they're going to share a vertex. A vertex is the point in which two lines cross. So if I look at angle 1, it's on the opposite side of the line that crosses it. So 4 matches with angle 1. They're vertical of each other, whereas 2 and 3 match each other. 5 and 8 are vertical angles, and 7 and 6 are vertical angles. Angle 7 and angle 2 are not vertical angles because they do not share a vertex. And lastly, a linear pair is a pair of two angles that form a line. So two angles that come together on a straight line are a linear pair. So angles 1 and angle 2 form a straight line, so they are a linear pair. Angles 1 and 3 are also a linear pair because they come together to make a straight line. Angle 3 and 4 match to a linear pair, and 2 and 4 also are a linear pair. Whereas 5 and 6 are a linear pair, 7 and 8 are a linear pair, 5 and 7 are a linear pair, and 6 and 8 are a linear pair. And what's special about linear pairs is that they are supplementary. And I am not sure if I mentioned that vertical angles are congruent, so let's just make a note of that as well.